Tell me how many lights you see.
There are 4 lights!
Hello again, my little conscripts, and welcome to another Mordian Glory video. In today's episode, we are going to be taking a look at the brand new Death Korps of Krieg datasheet. But I know what you're thinking. Mordian, you've already covered the Codex Death Korps of Krieg datasheet, haven't you? I have, but Games Workshop, in their infinite benevolence, have decided to update it and release a new version on Warhammer Community. Now, normally I would use this as an opportunity to lambast Games Workshop and, oh my god, they're constantly changing things and it's our digital version, another thing I've got to remember, my codex is out of date, all of this kind of stuff. But, in all fairness, this datasheet is actually a big improvement. Not only has the optimum loadout actually got slightly better, but in terms of readability, in terms of being able to actually decipher what this unit can take, it is a vast improvement. And so what I want to do is do a quick re-review of the Death Korps of Krieg datasheet and also point out where some of the most important changes are. So without further ado, let's fix bayonets, grab our shovels, and charge right into this. First things first, I want to show you guys where you can find this datasheet. So you want to come over to Warhammer Community, go to the right hand side, go to Downloads, Warhammer 40k. Now, at the time of recording, you will see that GW have helpfully put it under this recently added section. You can see Death Korps of Krieg datasheet. But of course, in the future, that will change because other things will become recently added. If you're looking for this and you don't see it here, you can come down to other rules down here and you'll see the Death Korps of Krieg datasheet here. It will be under here with some of the other new datasheets I've added, like Breaker Boys, Rattlings and stuff like that. Of course, in the future, other datasheets may be added, so it may not be at the top left here, but you guys know that generally speaking, it's going to be in this other rules section in the future. So now you know where to find it, let's dive into the datasheet. And as is tradition, we will start off with a look at the stat line. Now, there have been no changes between this version and the Codex to this stat line. Your Death Korps of Krieg still very much have that quintessential Guardsman profile. They have a standard move of 6 inches, but don't forget that Death Korps of Krieg can receive orders like move. So if you need to go a bit further, you can actually end up moving up to 9 inches plus an advance with this unit. And as we'll see later on in the video, you can often get away with going for move on your Death Korps of Krieg over a more traditional order like Take Aim, thanks to their Grim Demeanor ability. But we'll get into the details of that later on. So their maneuverability is pretty decent. Their defensive profile, on the other hand, is absolutely trash. Toughness 3 with a 5+ save and 1 wound means that these guys are going to die in droves. If you want your Death Korps units to survive long enough on the battlefield, you're either going to want a lot of them, strength in numbers, which you can do because they are relatively cheap, or you're going to want to think about putting them inside a transport like a Taurox or a Chimera. Rounding out the datasheet, we have a leadership of 7 and an objective control of 2. Leadership 7 isn't much to write home about. Fortunately, Battle Shock isn't a massively impactful mechanic, but considering that you're going to be pushing these guys onto primary objectives, you are going to want them to pass Battle Shock so they can actually have enough objective control on primary objectives in order for you to be able to score them if your opponent's got units on there as well. Fortunately, you do have an OC of 2. This is really good. Considering that units like Death Korps can be taken in blobs of 20, you can get 40 objective control onto an objective very easily. And considering that a lot of enemy units that you're going to encounter are going to be like 1 OC per model, 5 to 10 model squads, even a 10-man squad or the shattered remnants of a big platoon should, generally speaking, be able to out-objective control an enemy unit. This, in my opinion, is one of the best bits about Guard Battle Line Infantry, and this ability to dump OC onto objectives is why you want to be considering Death Korps for your army. In summary, Death Korps have got a decent movement, they're pretty fragile, but they can play the primary game very well. That just about covers the stat line, but now let's get into the weapons and war gear. And this is where the biggest changes have occurred on the datasheet. Now, what has stayed the same is the unit composition. You can either take 10 or 20 man blobs. Your Deathcore Watchmasters come with Las Pistol and Chainsword to start off with. Your Deathcore Troopers come with Lasguns, and you can have 2 leaders attached to this unit, one of which can be a command squad. What's changed is the war gear options. GW has done a great job of tidying up, clarifying, and deconvoluting this section. If we head over to the Codex datasheet for a moment, so this is the Codex one we're looking at right now, this section was a total mess. There was so many arguments that came about from this section. Could you take 4 special weapons? Could you take 8 special weapons? Does this asterisk here mean the same thing as this asterisk here? This is a separate list, so surely this means that these are separate conditions. Completely insane, just almost impenetrable, with the community essentially having to guess what the acceptable loadout was. And what was kind of weird about this war gear section was how it kind of restricted where you could take Voxcasters. So you could take like 2 grenade launchers and 2 plasma guns and 2 Voxcasters, but you couldn't take like 2 melter guns, 2 plasma guns and 2 Voxcasters. It was just bad. But rejoice, Games Workshop has fixed that travesty of a datasheet, and they have now made it very clear how the weapons and war gear loadouts work, and essentially they've just brought them into line with other datasheets like the Cadians. No longer do you have to choose between melter guns and Voxcasters. Now, for every 10 models in this unit, up to 2 Deathcore Troopers can replace their lasguns with one of the following. You've got 1 asterisk here, not dozens, you've got 1 asterisk here, and it simply says you can't have the same option more than once unless you've got 20 models, and then you can't have the same option more than twice. Essentially, what this means is in a 10-man squad, you could go for a melter gun and a plasma gun, and in a 20-man squad, you want to go for 2 melter guns and 2 plasma guns. And to be honest, that is my recommended loadout. You can take flamers and grenade launchers and long lasers, but truthfully, always go melter and plasma gun. Quick side note here. It was kind of interesting in the original Codex datasheet because there were sort of 2 schools of thought that came out from that loadout. We're not talking about 4 weapons or 8 weapons. We're talking about, do you go for the loadout which was grenade launchers, plasma guns and Voxcasters, because that was the way you get Voxcasters in the unit, or did you sack off the Voxcasters and go for melter guns and plasma guns? I know quite a few people that said they quite liked the grenade launcher and then getting the bonus Voxcasters. Now that's not a thing anymore, so it'll be interesting to see if those people that have been trying out the grenade launchers and having success with them stick with them, or if they come back over to melter guns and plasma guns now that, as you can see down here, Voxcasters are no longer restricted. Because as you can see, it simply says for every 10 models in this unit, 1 Deathcore Trooper equipped with a lasgun can be equipped with a Voxcaster. The Voxcaster is no longer listed under this special weapon list. It's its own separate bullet point, and it very simply means that you can just have a couple of Voxcasters in a big blob if you want to. For those of you who are curious what this bit means, this model's lasgun cannot be replaced, and the double asterisk saying a model can only take one of these options. This is to stop players from cheesing it and being like, well, if I have a guy who's got a Voxcaster and a lasgun, then I could swap the lasgun out for a plasma gun and he could have like double doozies. No. You can't do that. Basically, your lasgun guys can have Voxcasters, or they can swap out special weapons, but you can't have a Voxcaster, plasma gun, or melter gun guy. And they've done something similar here for the medipacks as well. So you can have 1 per 10. You can't swap the lasgun out, so you can't have a medipack special weapon guy as a combo, and you can't have, and the double asterisk here means you can't have a medipack and a Voxcaster on the same model. Essentially, when you think about these options, is you either have a lasgun, or you have a special weapon, or you have a Medipack, or you have a Voxcaster on one model. You don't have one dude loaded up with like a Voxcaster, a Medipack, and a special weapon at the same time. There's essentially specialists in the units. As for the Watchmaster, they've just tidied up some of the typos here. So now it is clear that the Deathcore Watchmaster can replace his las pistol and chainsword for a bolt gun and close combat weapon. On the Codex datasheet, it did say bolt pistol, stupidly. And then here it says Deathcore Watchmasters can replace their chainsword with a power weapon, and you can replace your las pistol with a plasma pistol. Now, I've thrown a lot of information at you guys there, and I can understand if it's been a bit confusing as we have been comparing things from the Codex to the new datasheet now. So I'm going to give you a really quick summary of the ideal loadout, the new ideal loadout for your Deathcore of Krieg. You want to have in a 10-man squad, one Watchmaster with a plasma pistol and a power sword. And then you want to have one guy with a plasma gun, one guy with a melter gun, one guy with a medipack, one guy with a Voxcaster. So that should in total be you having 5 specialists: Sergeant, plasma gun, melter gun, Voxcaster, and medipack, and then 5 basic dudes with las guns. In a 20-man squad, you're essentially going to double those numbers. So you're going to end up with 2 guys with plasma pistol and power sword, your sergeants. Then you're going to have 2 guys with melter guns, 2 guys with plasma guns, 2 guys with Voxcasters, 2 guys with medipacks, and then you're going to have 10 basic bozos with las guns. Overall, I'm really happy with how Games Workshop has updated the weapon loadouts of this datasheet. Not only does it make it a lot more beginner friendly, being able to actually understand what weapons you can take, what equipment you can take, but also it has made my personal optimum loadout much better, because now I can take all the special weapons and Voxcasters. And it's interesting, Voxcasters have become a lot more relevant and more prevalent in my guard armies, because I don't really take the Lord Solar all that much anymore, so I don't just have the extra bonus CP. And the number of times that I've just got a CP back because of Voxcasters now has been quite significant. I would say probably a game doesn't go by without me getting a CP back from Voxcasters. So now, and that's one of the big reasons why I actually have been skewing towards Cadians, because the Cadian Voxcasters have been really helpful. Now that Deathcore of Krieg can get Voxcasters again, I actually think I'll probably start defaulting to them a bit more as a go-to line infantry choice. However, I do understand that, especially if you're a newer player, this update, whilst welcome, might also come with a hint of frustration. Because what if you've bought a bunch of Deathcore of Krieg and then not put the Voxcasters on them? The way the Deathcore of Krieg models work, you've got to put the backpacks on. It's not like the old plastic Cadians where you just, if you didn't have a Voxcaster on the model, it wasn't the end of the world, because you could literally just get one later and just stick it onto the backpack. You can't really do that with Deathcore of Krieg. So I do understand that if you've built a bunch of Deathcore and now you're like, well, bloody hell, I've got to get a bunch of Voxcasters now. I do get that, especially if maybe you've not kept your spare Voxcasters or anything like that. Don't worry, there is a way of being able to get a whole bunch of extra Voxcaster guys for a relatively low price. There are loads of third-party bit sellers like Anvil Industry that will sell you batches of just radios. You don't have to buy the whole guy. You can get just the radio, and it's just a very simple radio backpack, and you can see it just goes on the back of your infantry. Now, of course, you would need to buy an extra box of Deathcore of Krieg, but if you're someone who's got like 100 and now you're looking for a couple of Voxcasters for your 5 blobs, you could buy one more box of Deathcore of Krieg, buy a couple of these sets of backpacks, then they come in sets of 5, and you could build yourself 10 Voxcaster guys that way. Or if you don't fancy going the GW route, you could still get those backpacks and then get yourself some of these Wargames Atlantic Deathfields Le Grognards models. These guys are great for representing Deathcore of Krieg, Destroyers, Mordians. They come with all sorts of different head swaps. You see you've got like gas mask heads with sort of Adrian helmets. A little bit of different sculpt, I get it. But they, as you can see, they do come with the backs not completely, not that big hole in the back like the Deathcore of Krieg ones do. So you get a bunch of these guys and then slap some radios on the back and you'll probably be okay. Also, Little shout out, I am sponsored by War Games Atlantic. We do have an affiliate link down in the description below. Full disclosure, and they are much cheaper than regular Death Korps of Krieg. Not only do you get 24 models in a box rather than 10 for about the same price as GW, but you also get a bulk buy discount as well. But anyway, I'll stop shilling and rattling my tin cup on the side of the road. Long story short, you can get the Voxcasters, and if you're looking for some extra Voxcasters, there are a few options out there for you. But as for the rest of the datasheet, it's still pretty much unchanged. Grim Demeanor works the same way. You get +1 to hit if you're below starting strength. You get +1 to hit and +1 to wound if you are below half strength. This links into what I was saying before, by the way. You know how I said how often you can have your Death Korps Krieg running around on a 9-inch move, and you can go for moves, a bit of a go-to order with them rather than like take aim, which tends to be the go-to order for most guard players. That's because if you've taken like 1 or 2 casualties from this squad, you'll have that +1 to hit roll, which is like having pseudo take aim on there. So you can have your +1 to hit, and you can have your move. And so you can have your cake and eat it. But don't forget that +1 to hit from Grim Demeanor does stack with take aim. So sometimes you can have your Death Korps of Krieg hitting the enemy on 2s, which is always fantastic when you can have basic guardsmen putting custodies to shame. Then we've got the War Gear abilities. Voxcaster, the thing I've been banging on about. This allows you to regenerate command points if you target this unit with a stratagem. Very, very helpful. More CP, more stratagems, the better. And then we've got the Death Korps Medipack, which allows you to regrow casualties into the squad. So at the start of your command phase, you can bring back up to D3 destroyed Death Korps troopers, or if you've got 2 Medipacks, you can bring back D3 +1. What's really important about this is it is the command phase, not the movement phase. So this means that, and it's at the start of your command phase, and you don't test for battle shock, and you don't work out primary points until after this has happened. So that means that if you've got an objective that's not under your control, maybe you need like 1 or 2 more troopers to get it, then you can bring those troopers back with the medipacks, flip that prime objective to your side, and then score it in your command phase. Very, very helpful. But I believe that just about covers everything. They're still the same points cost at time of recording, 65 points for 10, 130 points for 20. And in terms of their battlefield role, your Death Korps of Krieg are still doing what they always have done, being a very good battle line choice for any guard army. Whether you're looking to have mechanized units driving around in chimeras, or you want to have waves upon waves of infantry, the Death Korps of Krieg is arguably the best battle line choice that we have in the codex right now. Really, the main changes that have occurred with this datasheet is they have tidied up the war gear options to make them much clearer, and they've made the optimum loadout a little bit better. But of course, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. I really like these Death Korps changes. I'm going to assume that a lot of you guys do as well. I guess my big question is, are you now coming away from grenade launchers and going back to double plasma and double melter gun? And do you think Death Korps of Krieg are one of the best battle line choices? Or do you tend to find yourself going with something like Scouting Catachans or Acadians? If you enjoyed today's video and found it helpful, don't forget to go ahead and smash that like button and also subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing, truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full time without the incredible and generous support of my members, so thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bon Vert, Lord Pryor, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.